Hey everyone, this is John from EastCoastArmory.com, and I'm here today with a project update video for this 1/6 scale German SDKFZ 222 armored car. Since the last video update, the Flak gun has its last components added, and the Flak gun itself and carriage is now 100% complete and ready for installation. We'll be going over these features and additions in this video. First, a quick walk around the gun. Starting with the tank's optic, the optic system here has progressed a lot since the previous video. In the previous video, if we recall, all that was mounted was that of this arm that connects to the gun carriage itself. As you can see, the 222 gun optic system is very, very complex. In addition to having a scope or an optic, you also have this very elaborate mechanism that's mounted adjacent to the optic itself. This mechanism here has lots of cams as well as other little levers that connect via these control cables that loop around to the opposite side of the gun and connect to this canister over here. As for the purpose of this component, that is unclear. From what I've been able to deduce is that this mechanism here would be controlled by the assisting gunner, and that would actually probably connect to another type of optic in order for the gun to be used for anti-aircraft purposes. However, if anyone does have the actual purpose of this equipment here, feel free to list it below in the comment section, as myself as well as my viewers would be very interested to know the purpose of this. As for the optic, as you can see, the optic has been mounted. The optic is also included with the set, as well as the optic bar. The optic is fully detailed and is painted and weathered as you see it here. As you notice, the optic is a light beige color as opposed to the panzer gray of the actual mount. This is taken directly off of the surviving example, which is found in the Littlefield collection out in California. Moving our way down from the optic takes us to the crank wheel. As you see, the crank wheel that we have here has its Bakelite sections painted. This is as per the real unit, in which the center frame would have been steel and it was sandwiched in between two wood, or in this case Bakelite grips that would be mounted on the crank wheel itself. Moving from the crank wheel takes us to the spent shell casing canvas bags. The 222, like many other armored vehicles, feature canvas bags in order to collect the spent shells that are ejected from the weapons during firing. Now, on the MG34's case, this bag here is not necessarily for shells, but is actually for the non-disintegrating links. The MG34, just like the M2 in the 1919, are bottom eject, and these shells would eject from the bottom portion of the machine gun. Now, to keep the inside of the vehicle from having spent shells running around all over the place, the MG34 series did have a canvas shell catcher bag that would clip onto the receiver of the gun itself, and that system there would then descend from this location here and would fill up with spent shells. The bag here, again, is purely for the links or the belts only, and again, German belts were non-disintegrating, and so they would simply just spool up into this bag here and then would be reused after the battle. On the opposite side, where we have the spent shell chute that was mentioned in the last video, on the bottom portion of the chute is the collection bag for the flak gun. Unlike the 34, the flak gun does eject its shells from the side of the weapon, to which then they would spool up and collect into this canvas bag over here. The canvas bags that you see on this model here are actually sewn and made from real canvas, and greatly help the look of the model in giving it that nice realistic appearance. Moving up from the canvas bags takes us to the armor car's front shield. The front shield that you see here is mounted directly to the carriage, and the intent of the shield is to protect the gun as well as the carriage and the internals of the turret from any type of small arms or shrapnel which would be entering the vehicle or facing the vehicle from the front. The shield is designed in a way so that the gun can still recoil on its spring mount without it actually making contact with the shield. This is done via two straps that are bolted to the shield and then are bolted to the front portion of the carriage itself. Moving to the MG34, like I mentioned in the other video, there's supposed to be a little clamp mechanism that holds the barrel of the machine gun in place and locks the whole system in. This lever here was missing in the last video, however, since then has been fabricated and added to this vehicle. Now, also one thing as of note, even though the gun and the gun carriage are complete, the MG34 still needs to have a little work done to it, namely that of the removal of the buttstock. Once the buttstock is removed and the gun is pre-painted, the gun will then be completed and ready for installation. More information on that is to follow along with the course of the build. Moving our way to the counterbalance spring mechanism. As we recall from one of the earlier videos, the 222's upper carriage is actually held in place with a large shock absorber type counterbalance spring. This system on this model, if we recall, is fully functional. In the earlier scene, this component here was made out of resin and is nice and hollow. Since then, to complete the piece, I added the top portion and blended the sides in with the bodywork. With the component now complete, it has the look that you see here. Moving on to the flak gun itself, the 222 utilizes the 2 centimeter flak gun. The flak gun that you see here is based off of the Dragon 1/6 scale kit. This particular one is a resin casting for my own use and is not for sale, nor is it included with the sets. The sets also do not include the MG34 machine gun. Everything else, however, that is pictured here is included with the set that's listed on ECA. The 2 centimeter Flak 38 flak gun is a magazine-fed automatic cannon. It is 20 millimeters in caliber. Now, one difference between this version here as compared to the normal versions that you see on quad flak vehicles as well as the standard flak carriage is that of the magazine. The vehicle version of this gun features a shorter 10 round magazine as opposed to the standard capacity 20 round magazines. The reason for the shorter round mag is because it's band state compliant. Actually, the real reason why the magazines are 10 rounds as opposed to 20 is because of the tighter confines of a vehicle, namely in this case a 222, but also with the Panzer II light tank, is that if we notice with the coaxial MG34, trying to fit in this large 20 round mag is very cumbersome and gets in the way. The 10 round mags are smaller and fit into the space a lot more easily compared to the longer variants. The shorter 10 round magazine is a resin casting from panzerwork.com. The set is very nicely done and actually also comes with the magazine as well as 2 appropriate Flak 20 millimeter ammunition. The pieces are CNC brass and are very nicely done and slip into the magazine in just like the way you would load a real one. Moving our way to the gun's flash suppressor, this is another aftermarket component from Panzerwerk.com. The Dragon Kit does have a okay flash suppressor, however the Panzerwerk resin casting is by far more superiorly detailed, as well as it's more appropriately scaled. The Panzerwerk component features the smaller holes that are found on the muzzle, on the flash suppressor, as well as we notice the mounting clip, which is mounted here on the top, in which on the real gun, the flash suppressor will actually snap and lock into the barrel. Another feature about the 2cm flak is that of a folding dust cover hatch. The weapon is side ejection, and when the rounds are fired, the dust cover pops open, much in the same way as you would find on an AR-15 rifle. The hinge component is fully functional on the gun and adds for a nice little bit of detailing. And here goes the gun fitted to the vehicle. Now, the gun has not been glued or mounted in yet. It's just been placed into the body just to get a rough idea how it's going to look. In addition to the gun, I've also started working on the turret itself. Since the last time the turret was showcased, the turret ring has been added to the turret. The ring itself is made out of PVC and was simply mounted to the turret itself. To fit it on, again, this is still in its very rough stages. The turret will slip over the gun as follows. Now, obviously, as the turret work goes on, the ring is going to be slimmed down so that it has a better fit, as well as all the other interior details are going to be added to the turret to bring it to its more final form. Like I mentioned before, the cradle as well as the carriage is that of a multimedia resin kit, which is posted on eastcoastarmory.com. There on the website you will see ordering as well as pricing information for the components. In case anyone out there is interested in building this gun for a 222 project like this one here, or if they want to build the gun and mount it on a plaque as an exterior shelf display component. And that concludes this project update for this 1/6 scale SDKFZ 222 German armored car. If you like this video, stop by and like us on Facebook, and don't forget to check out eastcoastarmory.com for more 1/6 scale builds as well as 1/6 and 1/16 scale detail components. Thank you.